Hey YouTube. Alright, so it is Sunday the 20th, and I've been working on the grain dam, and I've made a lot of progress, but I'm having some issues with the 97, and I'm still dailying it right now, and I'm pretty much broke. I just had to go get some tires put on this morning. It was $70. And then after filling up with gas, that was like $65 to fill up with the gas. I didn't have a very good check, so didn't get to go get an engine for the 06 this weekend. So I'm trying to make this thing last a little while longer, and the pump is just screaming. The boot is off on the inner tie rod boot on this side, so it's just constantly leaking. It keeps leaving huge puddles in the driveway. So I've got another pump, which this is the original one off the 07, and I went and power washed it and cleaned it up, and it's looking really nice. So, and then I have this inner tie rod boot and this bar, because the bar came off whenever I swapped the boot originally, and so that boot is off of this Impala steering rack right there. So that's my goal for today. Is I'm going to get this thing jacked up. I'm going to get this wheel off. I'm going to get this inner tie rod boot swapped around again and get everything on there how it's supposed to be. This is an actual Grand Prix Impala, inner tie rod boot, though. The one that's on here is off like an Acura or a Honda or something, and I was just trying to make it work. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get this thing jacked up, get this wheel off, and get that inner and outer tie rod separated so I can get that other boot off. I'm gonna get this on here. I have some metal zip ties with the other exhaust manifolds over there, so I'm gonna use metal zip tie to hold the inner boot on, and that should keep it from popping off this time instead of just some regular plastic zip ties. So that's my goal right now. And then while I have the pump off, I'm probably gonna go ahead and swap out this alternator bracket, since I have this one here with the metal coolant elbows, the newer style alternator. So I'm gonna probably end up swapping all that out also while I'm in here, and I've got plenty of coolant and fluids and everything. So that's my goal for today, doing a little different today. And so I'm gonna get this thing jacked up and get this wheel off, and then I'll give you guys another update. Alright y'all, so I've got it jacked up, got the wheel off. So all I'm doing is I just broke this nut free, just spun it free a little bit to get it broke from the inner tie rod. I'm just using this 13. I'm just backing it out of the outer tie rod, just like that. That way I don't have to fuck up the outer tie rod since it's brand new. Now, just gotta unthread this nut. I have some brand new shiny nuts to go back on the inner. Now, I just pull this boot right off. Ugh. Yeah, no good. So, now I'm gonna spray all this down with brake cleaner, try to clean it up some, and then I'm gonna get this other boot slid on here, and I've got to get those, look, there's a zip tie. Yeah, I got to grab those metal zip ties from in there so I can go ahead and get a metal zip tie started around the boot before I slide it on in place and go from there. So y'all stay tuned and I'll keep you guys updated. Alright, so I've got both the lines disconnected. I've drained pretty much all the fluid out of the pump. It's just dripping now. I went ahead and pulled the lid, the cap off of it, just so it could drain out faster and quicker. And whenever I pulled the lines off, it just dumped over everything. So I just kind of sprayed it down real quick with some brake cleaner just to try to clean up some of the shit. But I don't want to use all of it because it's the only can I got. And so now next thing is just going to be, there's two 13mm bolts. One at the, about right here through that hole there on the bottom of the pump. And then I'll have to turn it, and there's one straight above it at the top. They're both 13s. And then once I get those off, whole pump should just come right out. So I might have to, I don't know if I'm going to be able to drop this out and get it out through right here, or if I'm going to have to pull it out the top. If I have to pull it out the top, I might have to pull the alternator and shit off anyways. But either way, I'm just going to keep making some progress on this thing and trying to get this pump swapped out. So y'all stay tuned. I'll keep you guys updated. Alright, y'all. So I finally got my pump out. It's right here. I was actually able to drop it down and get it out right here. So it is out. As you can see, it has been spraying fucking everywhere. It is just caked up there. So I've got this other pump. I'm going to slide it back in here and get it up in place and get it bolted in. But first I'm going to spray this down with brake cleaner just to clean it up some and make it to where it's not so gunked. Golly, that is horrible. But yeah, I'm going to get this all sprayed down and then I'll start getting this other pump in and I'll give you guys another update. Alright, you guys, so I started getting the new one back in there. That was a pain in the ass trying to finagle it back through here. So on these, there's two 13mm bolts, and one of them was a little bit shorter than the other one, and the shorter one came out at the top. So I don't know if somebody's just been here before and just put a shorter bolt back in it, or if that's just how it comes. I've never really noticed it before, but yeah, so if one of your bolts is shorter than the other, I'd put the short one on the top. If they're both the same, I guess it doesn't really matter. I just wanted to put that out there, that one of the bolts was a little bit shorter than the other one, just by a couple threads. But so yeah, so now I'm getting this thing back up in here. I got the longer bolt already stuck in the bottom hole, so now I just got to hold it up into place, get my 13 socket in there and start threading it by hand, and then I'll go up top and I'll get the top one stuck through and get it started. And you want to get both of them started before you tighten either one of them all the way down, or else you're not going to be able to line up the other one. So that's what I'm about to do right now. And once I get these both the bolts started, then I'll give you guys another update. Alright, so I've got my pump back in, got it tightened down, got the lines on. So what I had to do for this line was I had to kind of lift it up in the back side to get it to be at the right angle, and then use my other hand to thread into fitting. Got it all nice and tightened down. This one just slides on, put the clamp on. I sprayed everything down with brake cleaner just to try to clean up the fluid and everything. And so now, one thing I got left to do is to put on my boot. And with that little rod that connects the two inner tie rod boots, and then I can put the brand new nut on, and then I can thread it back into my outer tie rod and try to get it as close to straight as possible. But at least this way, now it's going to have a new pump, well, a newer pump that I know is good and doesn't whine. And so as long as I fix this boot, it shouldn't have any leaks and it shouldn't whine, and my power steering should work properly. So hopefully, crossing my fingers, this works. So next thing I got to do is I got to take this boot and just kind of slide it in through here. Slide it on. And I got to kind of line this up all the way across as I go. And yeah, so that's pretty much how I got to get this on. I just got to finagle this on all the way. And before I put this on all the way, I want to get that metal zip tie on there and started. But there we go, at least that way it's at least kind of on there. So I'm going to finagle this on and I'll give you guys another update. Alright, y'all, so I got my boot on. Back underneath. So, as you can tell, I've got the boot all the way back on. I've just got to get my metal zip ties. So I can get a metal zip tie on there and get it tight. And then I'm going to take that little metal bar and it goes in that little nipple and then connects over to the nipple on that boot right up there. And I'm not really for sure what I guess it's just like a vent tube or something between the two boots. But that's all that's left. So the hardest part, getting the damn boot on the rack how it's supposed to be, is done. It's on there. All the lines are hooked up. Pump is swapped. So now all I got to do is just take my little clamp and put on the end of the boot. Once I get the other metal zip tie on there, and I can take my nut here and thread that on, and then thread it back into the outer tie rod, and pretty much done. Just try to adjust the tie rod the best I can and get it as straight as I can until I can go get an alignment done. It's, like I said, it's going to be, I don't know, can't even go get it done next week, because next week I'm spending $300 to go get an engine for the 06. So that's kind of where I'm at. So I don't know, if I can just make this last another week and a half until I can get the 06 done, then it is what it is. I just want it to not leak, and because my mom's getting mad, it's dripping all over the driveway, and I'm tired of going out there and power washing it and putting cat litter down and trying to clean up after this piece of shit. So I'm gonna find those metal zip ties and get that metal zip tie on there, and then get the clamp on there and start getting this thing put back together, so that way I can fill it up with fluid. And I need to get off the jack so I can put the belts back on and start this thing up. So y'all stay tuned, I'll keep you guys updated. Alright you guys, so I've got it sitting back on the ground. I need to lift it back up and adjust the tie rods a little bit more. The wheel's kind of angled out like this, and then same on this side, it's kind of angled out a little bit. So I'm going to adjust both sides. But for now, since I have it down, I'm going to go ahead and put both of the belts back on and fill up the power steering pump and get the cap on there. And then that way I can start it and at least get the system full of fluid and make sure everything's working how it's supposed to and there's no whine. And yeah, so give me a few minutes, let me get these belts back on here, and then I'll give you guys another update. Alright y'all, so I've got both of the belts back on. So now all I got to do is fill the power steering pump. So I've got this nice funnel. I got this from, I think from Walmart for like $3. I'm going to spray it out with some brake cleaner first. But yeah, essentially that just snakes right down through your heater hoses and right into the pump. Super easy. And so I'm going to clean out that funnel, and then I'm going to fill this up, and then I'll give you guys another update. Alright you guys, so I added what I had to it, and it filled up the tank. So I started it and I turned it lock to lock like 6 or 7 times, and it's pretty much empty again. And I had about a half a bottle of each of those, so I've used about 1 full bottle. So I got my buddy Ray, he said he's got some up at the office, so he's about to bring me another bottle. And I'm just going to top this thing off again, and I'll start it up and turn it lock to lock again, and I'll just keep adding fluid until it seems like it's good. There's no whining. I did look under, I didn't see any leaks so far, so that's good. The inner tie rod boot stayed on, so that's good. See if I can get a good close up of it. Yeah, it stayed on, so that's good. I'm happy with it. So hopefully that'll fix my leaks, and it'll keep it from spraying all over everything, and keep this thing from whining and just sounding god awful. And I mean, the pump, this one, it whined a little bit, but I mean, it just sucked all the fluid right down through the lines, because everything was pretty much emptied out. Whenever I disconnected everything, it all come out in the pan. But it's all good, no worries. So Yeah, I'm just gonna wait for Ray to get back here, and then I'll top this thing off and I'll start her back up and turn it lock to lock, get the system bled, and make sure she's topped off. And then if I need to go buy some more, I'll go buy some more. I have like $7 or $8 left, so but it's good, making lots of progress. So y'all stay tuned, and I'll give you guys another update once Ray brings me this other power steering fluid. Alright, so Ray just came and dropped off the fluid, so I topped it off and I got her running. Looks like it's still pretty full. I hear a little bit of a whine whenever I'm turning still. This looks pretty full. Look at that, it's turning by itself. That's wicked. It's a lot easier turning left than it is turning right. That's crazy. I don't hear it whining anymore, so that's good. I'm still seeing a leak over there. It's got to be leaking from the rack somewhere. Looks like the inner tie rod boot stayed on though, that's good. Man, that sucks. It's still fucking leaking. Not leaking from them cooler lines right there. It's leaking farther over, like where the lines. It's leaking like in this area. See, on this one, it's cracked. So it's and that's a very common thing with these steering racks, is cracking. So this one's out of an 07. This is a 10 years older out of a 97. So there's a very good possibility that this one's cracked. But I don't know what else to do. Maybe I can get some power steering stop leak and put in it. Maybe that'll help. I don't know. But at least it's not whining like it was, so that's good. At least now the belt's on. Looks like it's still turning by itself though. Alright. Well, I guess I'm just going to finish adjusting the tie rods. As you can still kind of see when you look at the front, the wheel is kind of turned out some. And I was adjusting this one. It's still turned out, so I need to finish adjusting that one some more too. adjusted it in too much. It looked right when it was in the air, but once I set it on the ground and I backed up and pulled forward and they settled, it was way off. So, but it's alright. I'm gonna get them both adjusted out and try to get them as straight as I can, and hopefully that'll be what I need. And then I'll probably go pick up all my stuff and I'll go drive it around, and then I'll double check that the fluid level, and if I need to, I'll go buy some more. There's a little bit left in the bottle, but I'm happy with it. Making lots of progress on this thing today. So I know it's not my typical stuff, because I've been working on the Grand Am and the 07, and I know I'm about to be giving this car away, so I shouldn't even care, but I want him to have a decent vehicle. Like, he has a good engine and trans, and I know we just replaced the knuckle and the wheel bearing and the axle and everything, and the strut on this side on his Monty, and all that is probably still good, but all the shit on this side is smashed in, and so it's probably everything that was broke on that side before I fixed it the first time is probably now broke on the other side. So I don't know, I'm probably just going to leave the lower control arms and the tie rods, and I'm just going to leave everything on there. Hopefully the rack isn't broke. Maybe it's just like a bad seal in the line or something. But I won't know until I get the engine pulled out. And I'll probably just end up dropping the whole subframe whenever I do, after I get the 06 going. But I told him just bear with me. As soon as I can get an engine and get my 06 going, I'll get this one pulled out and we'll get his engine put in here and do the top swap and get it all back together. So essentially it's going to pretty much look just like this, except for I'm keeping my coils and all the painted stuff. But I've got, you know, well, he's going to get to keep the heads, but I'm probably going to keep these valve covers because the other ones don't look as nice as these. But either way, he's going to end up with the supercharged top swap with his engine. So it's going to take us a little bit of time, but maybe a couple weeks, while I'm still trying to work on the 07 and the Grand Am. But I told him as soon as I can get an engine for the 06 and get the 06 running and driving, I'll get this thing pulled out of here and we can get his Monte Carlo over here, and he can get him in a storage somewhere around in here that's close to me. And that way, once I get this pulled out, we can just push it over to his storage and go from there. So, but yeah, I guess I'm gonna get all this stuff picked up and go on a test drive, and I'll give you guys another update. Alright, y'all, so I've got both sides inner tie rods adjusted pretty good. I've been pulling it forward and backwards. There we go. That one looks pretty straight. And this one over here looks pretty straight with the rear. I know the body, the fenders are pushed in right here, so it doesn't look like on both sides it's pushed in. So I know it doesn't look straight with the body, but if you line up the tire, the front tire with the rear tire, they're pretty straight. So I've got that adjusted as best as I can. I need to re-top off the power steering. I'm not hearing any whining from the pump anymore though, since I've started it like 4 or 5 times and moved it backwards and forwards. And I can turn it and it doesn't whine, so that's pretty good. It definitely needs to run longer, and so you're supposed to turn it lock to lock like 30 or 40 times to bleed it very well and get all the air out of the system. So I still need to do that, but I just wanted to get the tires kind of adjusted, and now I just need to pick all this stuff up, and I'm just going to pack everything in here and probably top off the power steering with the last bit of that fluid before I go on a test drive. I just want to go drive it around without all the tools in the trunk and just see how it rides, see how it handles, and see how it does. So I got all the tires sprayed down with some tire shine. Looks pretty decent. So yeah, so I'm gonna get all this stuff picked up and go test drive this thing, and I'll give you guys another update while I'm going on the test drive. Alright, you guys, so I'm in the car. She's running. I got everything picked up. So I'm going on my test drive. Cool, I'm not hearing any whining. I know it is still leaking, so that kind of sucks, but at least the boot's staying on. Stay pretty straight. Actually pretty nice. Probably need to adjust the sway bar, or not the sway bar, the tie rods a little bit more. Steering wheel's a little to the left. But it's way better than what it was before. I can hear that rear sway bar jiggling around because it's broke. So that definitely needs replaced. We'll probably take that off of his Impala, or his Monte Carlo. It actually rides pretty good. I probably just have to adjust the steering wheel just a little bit more. I'm going to turn around, head back to the storage. Jingling is really annoying in the rear end. Yeah, I probably need to adjust this driver's side bit more, because it's kind of pulling to the left a little bit. I'll give you guys another update once I get back over to the storage. Alright you guys, so test drive went great. I'm back over here at the storage. I went ahead and loaded up all the tools. So I don't know if I recorded this, but a couple days ago I was over here and I took the factory cooler line that runs this one, and I took it up to the car wash and sprayed it down with power washer and scrubbed it with the purple power and got as much of the grease and grime off as I could. And I just went ahead and put it back on here, so that way it has a line and I know it's the right line. And it wasn't leaking from the line. So I've got it all back on here. And then I still have the brand new high pressure line. So now all the power steering stuff is hooked up, belts are on, everything's on. So now the only thing that I'm really waiting for is my fuel fittings to get all the fuel system done, which I could probably do that once the engine's in the car. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it. So now I just gotta get the harness. I need to splice on this plug back to my original harness. And yeah, it looks like that's about it. And then the only other thing I have to do is just hook up the outer tie rods into the hubs, but I'm going to wait for that. I don't want to do that yet. And go from there. So this thing's really, really close to being done. So the next thing I got to do is just grab the harness, which I believe is in that box up there on the other side of the hood. And that's the original harness. And so I need to splice this plug in, and I think there's one other plug that I need to splice in. And I don't know, I might have to splice on my alternator plug. I don't remember. I think there's a couple plugs that I gotta fix on it that are frayed. But other than that, nothing major. And then I can't forget I have to finish tightening that EGR bolt right there, 13. And I gotta finish tightening that before I get it in the car, because once it's in the car, there ain't no getting to that. So yeah, just some little minor stuff, and then this thing will be ready to go back in the car, and then I'll have to drop the tank and do the E85 pump and all that. But that's all coming here soon. I'm trying to focus more on the Grand Am right now, since I'm still just waiting for stuff for this to come in and fittings, and I still gotta find the fittings for the transmission cooler lines. And yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of stuff going on with this, and then the Grand Am, and then I still want to try to get the 06 done and get an engine for that. And I'm going to put that transmission back in the 06, since I have the HD trans in there right now for the supercharge, and I'm not running supercharge anymore. I'm going to go back to NA. So that was my reman NA trans, so I'm going to put that back in with the new donor junkyard engine, and that's going to be that. So that's going to be it for over here. I'm about to run over to the Grand Am storage and try to get a little bit of stuff done over there. It's a pretty nice day outside today, so yeah, I'm going to head over there, and I'll catch you guys over at the Grand Am storage. Alright, YouTube, so I'm over here at the Grand Am storage. I've been over here for like a couple hours, and so I moved some stuff out of the way. I got the welder out, and I continued working on this front mount. I was over here yesterday working on it. So I pulled the welder out and I got it tacked up, and then I pulled it off, and I took the welder over around where the plug is and welded it up all the way around, and then let it cool off. And I brought it over here, and this is now the second coat of paint of black. So now once it dries, I'm going to pull it back off and just bolt it back on and make sure it still fits and make sure it didn't warp or anything. And then I also changed this up a little bit. So instead of having that double bracket like this that I tacked together, this was the original Grand Am engine mount bracket that bolted the mount to the engine. And so I took that off, and I just got a nut and bolt where the mount normally goes. I had to drill the aluminum piece out just a little bit to make them line up and get both bolts to go through. But I got that bolted onto the bracket. This bracket's bolted on the oil pan, and that kind of spaces this over a little bit. So now what I was kind of thinking was, if I take that double bracket and bolt this piece on like I did to the double bracket one, that would space this out way over here, And then if I do like what Gage did and just weld on an L bracket to the bottom of the subframe and drill a couple holes in it, then I could probably just use this transmission mount or get a brand spanking new one. And I just seen, like, this is a 3800, the 1465E transmission mount. But there's a guy, he just posted it an hour ago. I just seen it on Facebook Marketplace, but it's a ZZP red poly transmission mount for 65 bucks. But he's in like Michigan or Wisconsin or something. And so I sent him a message and told him I'd give him 75 bucks for it on Thursday when I get paid, plus pay the shipping if he would hold it until Thursday. And I haven't heard back from him yet, but if I got that, then that would be badass, and it would fit right on that bracket. And then all I'd have to do is just drill the 2 holes. So as long as I make this one fit, then that ZZP one would fit. And this will already bolt right up into that silver bracket there. So that's major progress. So I'm probably going to have to get that bracket and clean it up and paint it black. And then bolt that aluminum piece onto it. And yeah, I think that's really gonna help. So y'all stay tuned, and I'll give you guys another update once this is dry and I get it back on here and show you guys how it looks and how it fits. So y'all stay tuned. Alright, you guys, so I've got the mount back on. Looks pretty good. I mean, like I said, the welds aren't the greatest, but it's on there, it's holding. It's a nice solid piece. So like I said, functionality is where I'm at. So now I've got the front mount. So now the new poly bushing should be here tomorrow, and then I'll just have to either have this one pressed out. I might just have this one pressed out this time, and then just have the new one pressed in, and that way I don't have to mess with burning it and all that, because I've already painted it. But either way, I've got to get that front mount swapped out, and it'll have a nice red poly bushing like the rear one, and then I'll be able to get it mounted up in here, and it'll be good to go from there. So y'all stay tuned, and I'll keep you guys updated as I make some more progress. Alright, you guys, so here's what I did. I swapped out this bracket from this regular single one to the one that I had tacked together. And then this is that Grand Am bracket, and I had it bolted on, so I flipped it upside down so it comes up. And this is the bottom side of the 4T65E transmission mount, so it'll bolt onto this bracket. I had to drill it out just a little bit with my big ass drill bit, but now this is bolted on, this is bolted on, this bracket's bolted onto the oil pan with 3 bolts. So I figured if I tack this in place, these 2 nuts, or like, you know, put a tack on this side and a tack on this side on both, that'll hold the nuts onto that. And then whenever this is up off the subframe, I'd be able to unbolt it from the bottom side. And so now all I'd have to do is just get like a piece of plate steel and weld to the bottom side of the subframe coming over, and like a big square of it, and, you know, drill a couple holes in it, and boom, there's the mount. And then once I get the poly mount in, then I can just swap it out. It'll go right in place, and I'll just have to run it upside down, but it'll just be a big ass block of poly. So then I'll have 3 out of the 4 mounts will be poly mounts. And really, I like this. This is like super low profile. I like it. I dig it a lot. So once I get everything finalized, like, I'll pull this bracket back off and I'll fully weld this all the way, and I'm going to weld it on the bottom side all the way across. And then once everything's all welded, I'll wire wheel it all down again, and then I'll paint it all black and make it look nice. And I'll probably end up painting this aluminum piece black too, just to make everything all nice and shiny and black. And then I'll have the brand new mount, that poly mount, and that's nice. It keeps the engine, the oil pan sitting up off the ground while the subframe's on the ground, so that means the oil pan's not hanging below the subframe. So that's nice. Lots of progress. Lots of progress. So now that's all 4 mounts done. That's good progress. That's great progress. So, and then I'll still have the 2 dog bones. And I don't know, I might end up having to cut like one section off just to shorten them a little bit. But I won't know yet until I get it in the car. Man, I kind of want to take the engine off the stand and get it bolted on with this brackets and everything, and just to try to test fit everything. But I already know the Grand Dam's not high enough to fit the whole engine in there. But man, I'm really excited. This is awesome, awesome progress. So y'all stay tuned and I'll keep you guys updated as I make some more progress on it. Y'all, so I got the engine mount bracket all welded up. I wire wheeled it, got it all cleaned up, welded it all the way across the front and all the way across the back side. And then I wire wheeled it, cleaned it all up again, and then went ahead and bolted on the bracket. And then I just painted it all black. So it's not painted underneath between right there, but I don't think it'll be a big deal. But that way it at least looks nice. And then I'm going to let this dry for like 10 minutes or so. And then I'm going to give it a second coat. And then let that dry. And then once that dries, then I'm going to go ahead and bolt the mount back onto it. And then go ahead and bolt it back onto the oil pan down there. And then that way it'll be ready to rock and roll. And then all it's going to be is just bolting, pretty much welding on some plate steel down here, probably to go from over here out to, out to like to here, to give me plenty of space for that mount to sit. And I'll just have to drill a couple holes and it'll be good to go. Well, that turned out way better than I expected it to. But never thought I'd be fabbing up my own mounts, but hey, it works. Like I said, I know they're not the best welds, but they hold, and that's all I care about. I know even just tacked together it was holding, so if it was holding tacked, it'll hold with bead all the way around. So it is what it is. I'm going to let this dry, give it another coat, and then start getting this thing put back together. And then that's probably going to be it for tonight, but I'll give you guys another update before I head home for the night, so y'all stay tuned. Alright y'all, so the mount is done. It's got 2 coats of paint. I've got it bolted back down, got the mount back on. So there it is. So now the only thing that's left is welding on that plate steel and drilling me a couple holes for the mount to fit through. And it's done. So, made lots of progress today. Very happy with the progress. So now it's got all 4 mounts. I don't know where that trash come from. But yeah, so now it's got all 4 of its own mounts. So now I'm just waiting on my front bushing. It should be here tomorrow, hopefully. And then I can get that swapped out. And then Thursday I'll get that ZZP poly bushing paid for. And whenever it gets here, I'll get that thrown on here. And hopefully by that time, I'll already have the engine for the 06 and be doing the engine tranny swap in the 06. And then I'll start dailying that. And then once I start dailying the 06 and it's good to go, and I get the insurance swapped on it and everything, and I need to update the tag because it expired. But then, yeah, once I get that all done, then I'll pull this engine out and start tearing it down. And start getting that engine torn apart and everything, and I'll get this block cleaned up and get the cam in and start getting it built. And then as soon as I get everything together with the headers and this supercharger and everything, then I'll go ahead and get it set in place and get it bolted up and get that flywheel and the clutch on, which I do still want to order the spec stage 2 clutch. But it's just $400 and I just don't have it right now. So for now I'm going to try to just use this just to get it going and just try to baby it. I won't do any burnouts or nothing. So I'm going to need to break the engine in anyways. And just with having the cam and everything and the new lifters and everything, I want to break it in nice and easy and let everything get nice and worn in. Do a couple oil changes on it, and go from there. So yeah, I'm really excited with all the progress that's been being made, and this thing's just one step closer. So that's, like I said, that's probably going to be it for tonight. I'm just going to take this and shove it back underneath the car, get the engine put back in here, pick my tools up, what little bit of stuff I have out, and I'm just letting this battery charge up, because that's probably going to be the battery I'm going to end up using for in here. So I'm super excited. Lots of progress. So y'all stay tuned. And actually, that's going to be it for this video. So y'all like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more content. And I'll catch you next time.